One of the number one reasons why women struggle with dating and relationships today is that they choose men who are not ready for anything real. Ladies, there are lots of great relationship-ready men out here. However, you need to learn how to choose them. I wrote this book to teach you how to do just that. Get your copy of Choose Well, a simple formula to determine the best man for you on Amazon today.
Morning. Whew, I'm up early because I got to get to the foot doctor, the podiatrist. All right, y'all. Let me see if I can find my shades because it is sunny and bright. It's a beautiful fall morning. The leaves have not disappointed here in Virginia. It is absolutely amazing. And this morning, I'm going to talk about a subject that I talk to a lot of men about. And it is about the no-fault divorce. And I have been maybe not as vocal, but I am definitely not a fan of no-fault divorce. I think there should be a reason. And, okay, y'all, I got to put my sunglasses on. Whew, there we go. Because it is bright. It's bright out here. And I'm going to put this down, too. Because it is so bright out here. And I'm going to get a little more vocal about this. But I think there should be a fault. I think there should be a reason. And there should be guidelines with that reason. And if a person truly, okay, that's weird. It's saying that something I put up earlier is posting. If that person truly doesn't have a reason, like, hey, I don't have any of these reasons, I just want a divorce. I'm not saying that we're not going to issue that person a divorce, but it is going to make it's going to default. So if there is no fault, it is going to default to the court's standard. So that's going to be 50-50 custody. We would require that the parents not live more than 20 or 30 miles away from each other. So it would be a 50-50 custody split. The parents would be required to maintain a certain amount of mileage that they live, from each other so the children can continue to go to the same school. There would be no issuing of child support. There would be no issuing of alimony. So if you want a no-fault divorce, if children are involved, the automatic, unless there is a seriously egregious reason why the other parent should not have 50% custody, then, 50-50 custody split. There's no child support. There's no alimony. There's going to be a requirement about how far away the parents live from each other and other things. I can't think of all of them, but we're going to put a standard in place. And unless you can prove otherwise, that's what's going to happen. Okay. I got a comment. Christian nationalism is who is working to end no-fault divorce right now. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to do some more research on it. But I'm not a fan. I have a fault divorce. I have a fault divorce because there was a reason. There was a reason. And it wasn't I just got up one day and was tired of being married. I had a very good reason to end my marriage. And so, what are some of those reasons? All right. So, infidelity is at this present time the number one reason why people get divorced. Now, they do not use that. This is what's so interesting. They don't use that in the filing of their divorce. They still file no fault divorce. And there is, excuse me, y'all, there is a fault. Someone is at fault. The woman is at fault. The man is at fault. But infidelity at this time, y'all, my voice, work with me. Work with me. It's the fall. It's these fall allergies. And my voice has just, Lord, hanging on by a thread. So there is someone at fault. Someone has broken the covenant of the marriage. Someone has stepped outside of the marriage. And This is where I often will say to men, because men will say, I'll give the so-called reasons why women cheat and reasons why men cheat. That still does not factor into the fault. Okay, so if the woman felt alone, if she felt neglected, if she felt like the man was emotionally withholding and that's why she cheated, that doesn't change a thing. I'm just simply explaining to you there are gender differences why people cheat. If he can prove her infidelity, he gets a fault divorce. Okay, point blank, period. I don't care about why. He gets a fault divorce. If that woman cheated on him and he can prove it, then there you go. Good morning to Rain Walker. He says there's no incentive to work on a marriage, much less to work on yourself under the current marriage laws. Plus, divorce court is a nightmare for men, and they're not taking the risk. I agree. Look into Alliance Defending Freedom and Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. Fascism wants no-fault divorce. Look into the history and why we have no fault now. Okay. Fascism wants no-fault divorce? Okay, do they? Okay. Well, I think there should be a fault, I'm going to stand on that. I think there should be a fault, and if you want a no-fault divorce, you're going to get nothing. Everything you have acquired in the marriage will be split 50-50. Everything each person had before the marriage will not be shared. You will share the custody of your children. You will not get child support. You will not get alimony. So, yeah, I'll give you a divorce. You'll get out of the marriage. He said, okay, truth be woman. She said, I meant wants to end no-fault divorce. Okay. But you'll get let out of the marriage, but it will not, be a come up. It won't be a come up. Okay. So infidelity is the number one reason that we see cited. Here in this modern day, we see irreconcilable differences. That ain't going to fly. Like, that's not going to fly in my world. Irreconcilable differences is not a reason. And that's just not going to fly. I think we need to get rid of that. So I'm going to give you some fault reasons. I'm actually going to give you some fault reasons. And I think these are the reasons that should be listed on the form when you go in to file for divorce. Okay. And then at the very end of that list is no fault or irreconcilable differences. And again, you understand that by clicking this box, what's going to happen? We're going to make this process real easy and smooth, because this is what is going to happen when you click this no fault divorce box. Okay? But infidelity, the breaking of the marital covenant, is a reason and is often cited as the number one reason. I would add a new one, and we're going to call this one conjugal dissolution or sexual withholding. If one of the parties is no longer providing sexual access to the other, we're going to consider that a reason, because it is. It is a reason for divorce. If you and your mate have not slept together in years, okay, yeah, click that box. Check that box, and we're going to call it conjugal dissolution. Okay? So if there has been no sex in the marriage, we're going to say for a year. We're going to say for 1 or more years, that would be considered conjugal dissolution or sexual withholding, sexual withdrawal. That's what we're going to call it that. All right? We're going to give infertility. I think infertility is a reason for divorce. So if one of the parties is not able to produce a child, and the understanding was that, okay, there would be children coming out of this marriage, and one of those people is not able to produce a child, I think that can be a reason for divorce. Because think about it, most people are going into the marriage, under the guise of wanting children and wanting to have children. And if one person cannot, and that happens, especially now, then I think that can be a reason for divorce, is infertility. What's another reason? We're going to say domestic violence, and I'm going to try to decide if I want to be more specific when I talk about domestic violence. Cruelty was at one point in time under the list of fault reasons for divorce. So I would list cruelty, physical, emotional, but y'all know, I believe that abuse and all of these things that I'm talking about fall under abuse except for infertility. I believe that abuse, any form of chronic abuse in the marriage, I believe sexual withdrawal is a form of abuse. So, for me, it has always been abuse, but now I'm gonna separate all these different reasons. But domestic violence, so physical violence, emotional cruelty, chronic verbal abuse, and there are other things that I guess would fall under that. But yes, I think that is a fault reason for divorce. So if you're just married to a cruel person, a mean, cruel, emotionally withdrawn person, right? Neglect, I think, should be on that list. A neglectful person. Let me tell you another one. I think that economic, what we going to call this one? We're going to call this one economic withholding or financial withholding, economic withdrawal. So if one person in the marriage, I have 3 couples dealing with this right now. If one person in the marriage ceases working, is underemployed, will not work, will not provide economically for the household and the spouse, I think that's a reason for divorce. Because what I need you here for? I hate to break it to you, but if you are not pulling your weight, if you are not providing, no, I'm going to tell you right now, that ain't going to fly. And especially for a woman, that's just not in our nature. It's not in our nature to take care of no grown man. And it goes against God's holy will, God's holy Bible, for a man to sit and not work. No. So I would list that as a reason. If it can be proven that the spouse is unemployed or underemployed, and look, I can hear the men in the comments already, but what about the women? Unless it is agreed upon that the woman will not work for a period of time because of childbirth or what have you, yes, it applies to her too. So if the woman stopped working and will not go back to work, and it provides hardship to the home, yeah, she fall under it too. Okay, so it's not just a man, it's a woman too. If you met that woman and she was working and bringing in income, and you do not have an agreement that she will cease working upon the delivery of a child or for whatever reason, yeah, it applied to her too, y'all. It applied to her too. All right, I got to get some coffee. So, yep. Like, I know what y'all was thinking. Well, what about the woman? What if she don't work? Yeah, her too. If the agreement was that we will both provide income for our home, we will both work. Okay, then it goes for her too, unless an agreement is put forth that says, when I deliver a child, I won't work, or when I, whatever, right? Okay. All right. What's another one? I had a whole list, y'all. I can't go to my list. Oh, I'm missing something. But this is just a start. I'm gonna list them in the show notes under this video. This is just a start, but there should be a reason. There should be a reason, y'all. I'm sorry. There should be a reason why something as sacred as marriage is ending. There needs to be a reason. And depending on what that reason is, okay, now we're gonna figure out the dissolution of the funds and the financial stuff in the marriage, the children and all of that. Now now you can go before a judge. Now we're going to figure out all of that. And we have more wiggle room. We have more wiggle room because we can put fault on one of the parties, right? And we're not going to keep the child away from the other party. Like that part is a no, because a lot of people say, well, because he cheated on me, I want full custody of the kids and I don't want him to see the kids. No, that's not a reason withhold children from their father. You know, that's not a reason. I hate to break it to you, that's not a reason. So we're not talking about anything crazy like that. But we are talking about, okay, well, now you gotta, you know, maintain this woman's previous lifestyle. Now you gotta, because you're the one that blew all this up. You're the one that caused all this to falter. So yeah, we need you to do X, Y, Z. So again, if you want a no-fault divorce, we're going to default to this, and this, right? And if you look at that and you're like, oh, you know, I don't like that arrangement. I don't like that agreement. Okay, well, you better come up with a reason and you better prove it. And that's the part that today's people don't want to do. Y'all lazy. That's really what it is, because I have couples right now that have had infidelity in their marriage, and I said, okay, go to the court and file under adultery. Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through all that work and all that. No, baby, I went through 12 months of collecting data, hiring a PI, all the things, okay, because I can prove why this marriage is ending. And I needed to prove it for my children's sake, so that their father didn't say, yeah, your mama just woke up one day and she was upset with me and put me out. No, that's not what happened. We're not doing that. And I knew the day would come that my children will be adults. And if they ever ask me what happened between you and dad, I can just put my divorce decree down on the table and let them see it for themselves. Okay, I don't have to say a word. Here's our divorce paperwork. And in that paperwork, you'll find the reason for the dissolution of our marriage. But y'all are lazy. You don't want to prove what is actually happening. So if there's domestic violence, you call the police. You get a police report, right? And oh, here's another one. And y'all, this is horrible. Can I say this? I'm going to go ahead and say it. But this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. And this has happened in my practice. Although, you know, the percentage of people that this is going to happen to is very slim to none. But it has happened, and I do think it should be listed as a reason for divorce. So two things. Number one, rape. And yes, there is such a thing as marital rape. Okay, a wife can be raped by her husband. So if there is marital rape, I think that is a cause for divorce. Like if you force yourself on me sexually, there ain't no coming back from that. Okay, so marital rape. And the second one, this has happened too in my practice. Y'all be thinking I be telling stories. No. This is stuff that is real life happening. If there is sexual abuse of a child, we done. It's over. There ain't no coming back from that. You need to explain that to your Lord on high. We are completely done. So if there is sexual abuse of a child in the marriage, we done. The marriage is over. So there you go. Like, and again, I'm sure that's not all of them, because I literally wrote them on a list because I wanted to, okay, all the things that I've experienced in my practice, those are all the things that I wrote down that in my humble opinion, they are reasons for this marriage to end. They are legitimate reasons why this marriage needs to end. Okay? So I support fault divorce. I do. Because I think that right now in society, you know, we've afforded people a level of freedom that in my humble opinion, people are abusing their freedom. Y'all are abusing your freedom. And yes, it's possible to do that. You're abusing your freedom. You're getting married and getting divorced and trying to take everybody's money and all that and taking away their kids. No, you're abusing your freedom. And to me, people who abuse their freedom, just like people who go out here and rob and steal and rape and murder people, you've abused your freedom. So now we're going to restrict your freedom. And I'm 100% on board with that. That if you can't act right, if you can't be out here walking around free and act like you got sense, then you don't need to be free. Point blank, period. So, yeah, I think people are starting to do that with marriage and family and all. Y'all are abusing your freedom. You are. So there has to be some guidelines. There has to be some rules. All right, y'all, I got to get my coffee. Have a great rest of your day. Let me know your thoughts underneath this video. You can Get a free trial of Skool by emailing me at info@betterlovemovement.com. I am going to do some research into that. I thank you so much for sharing that with me, because I am going to do some research into that. I'm very curious about this. But yeah, I think we need to get rid of no-fault divorce. That's my take. Let me know what you think. Have a wonderful day. And as always,